in you right now to grant that gentleness towards them, because it goes against your own needs, your own feelings, your own energy. And that is exactly where we trip, because saying no to people that are not so important to us, it's often not so difficult. But to the people that we love, that are important for us, that we want them to be gentle with us as well, that's sometimes pretty hard. And there is where we sometimes lose track of that self-gentleness, and we become rather gentle to others instead of being to ourselves. However, the best reason why self-gentleness in relationships, and again, this is any relationship, is so important is because if you go over your own boundaries or your own needs or your own energy, or you're just, because you're tired or whatever, to be gentle to another, and they basically you cut your own needs loose, you go over your boundaries, then in the end you will not be so gentle towards these people, especially when it builds up, when you again and again and again forget about your own gentleness in order to give your loved ones, whoever this is, or your boss, this relationship, whatever they need. There comes a moment that it is enough for you. And at that point, you will not be able to be gentle, not with yourself and not with them. And a clash will be there, or a fight, or you maybe keep it in because you're someone who doesn't like to fight. And then the resentment builds up, and then you lose a lot of the connection with the other. This is also not the way. So, and we understand this, right? When I'm telling you this, you know this. Yeah, I know that I should honor who I am also vis-a-vis the other. But that's sometimes really hard, and I again step in it, and especially when others are putting pressure on me or actively asking me to change whatever I want to do, or change myself, or adapt for them. That is where we trip up. So self-gentleness is key here. And it starts really with becoming self-gentle with yourself. That's really step one. But I can understand when you're in the middle of, when you are already in a relationship where you understand that you need to take more care of yourself, and others are used to that, it's really hard to make that next step and becoming more self-gentle. So there are steps we can take in that. Before I get there, I just want to take a look at the comments here, because I think there might be some other thing that I can get into the story. Let me just see. This I read already. Lizzie says, hi Lizzie. Just came home from caring for my mother-in-law and see that she has a senior health crisis. But she refuses medical care for religious reasons. All happened just now and I am distressed. That's a really clear example. You want to take care of someone who has a crisis. You want to take care of them. But basically, they have some resistance to the available help that is there, which is fine. This is their resistance, her resistance in this case. But it puts a burden on you that you feel that it is really hard to deal with. You are distressed. You want to help her, but the ways you see you can help her are not there. So that is really, really hard. In this case, this is a place where it's important to first come to yourself and start to understand. So these are her circumstances. This is the way she wants to deal with it. What part can and do I want to play in this? So if her refusing to take medicines puts a specific burden on you, for instance, I don't know exactly what the case is. So I don't know, for instance, actually, that it's important that you feel, what is it that I can do? And what is it that I don't want to do or I cannot do? And then to be really clear and straightforward about that. And I know that is difficult, because you sometimes can know what you don't want, but to actually communicate to the other in a way where you're not defensive, in a way where the other can understand or at least respect your decision, that is not so easy. But it has a lot to do with being kind to yourself, being gentle to yourself, and accepting that it is okay to want to do things differently than the other. Okay, let me see what else is here. Jan says, it seems I sometimes second guess myself and don't realize until I'm dysregulated that I had boundaries or triggering situations that I didn't know I had. It's hard to be gentle with myself when that happens. Yeah. But I really love how you pinpoint the problem, because you are realizing that very often you cross your own boundaries and then you think, whoa, I did it again. And then you beat yourself up for doing it again. But you could also turn it around by saying, oh, I did it again. Oh, apparently I am not yet so good in recognizing my boundaries. So next time I will try to say to anyone asking me something, give me a minute to think. And then I'm actually going to take this minute to think. This is what I promised myself. And I also understand that I am learning this. I have to learn this. I've been all my life, going over my boundaries. It might take some years before I'm really getting good at this. So next time someone asks me, I will first say, well, give me a minute or give me a day, and then I will give you an answer. It might be that the next time you forget it. But that's no reason to beat yourself up. That's saying, hey, I did it again. I remember I promised myself that I would tell them I would take some time, and I didn't. Okay, so next time I will try again. By the way, there's nothing wrong with being inconsistent. There's nothing wrong with saying, first crossing your boundaries, saying yes to someone, and then later thinking, oh, wait, I did say yes, but I now notice that I'm crossing my own boundaries. You can communicate that to others. And I know it's scary. I mean, I've been there. I'm sometimes still there, but you can learn to do this. And the first time you do it, it feels really, really awkward. And the second time, it's a little bit less awkward. And the more you practice it, the more you start to feel empowered, because you start to notice that you can actually speak for yourself. You can actually tell others how you feel and that it is okay. One of the core elements in this is that when we get in any relationship in blaming or accusing, so you could accuse another of crossing your boundaries while you've been the one who had them cross your boundaries, right? And I know sometimes people are like that, but communicating about these kind of things, it's always really important that you stick with yourself, that you explain to others how things feel for you, and whether or not they understand it, whether or not they respond to it, that doesn't matter, but you can speak to how things feel for you. All right. So Ray says, just hopped in. What you just said really resonated and reminds me of my ex. She said she felt resentful. She didn't feel like we should compromise and was going through a time when she wasn't happy with herself. I didn't know how I could help, but try to encourage her to do more things for herself. Yeah, Ray, that's also a really, really great example. And what I really love in your description is that you recognize that this was something that belongs to her, and that in a way you don't really say that, but it might be that you felt that she kept you responsible for how she was feeling, while you could also see this was part of her. And I think that is in relationships, especially with your loved ones, really important, and in all your communications, that you can separate between what you are feeling, what is going on within you, and that you understand that in your interaction with the other, you so often bring your own experiences and memories, whether this is with your spouse or with previous situations with anyone, sometimes even your parents. Maybe sometimes you go really way back and you don't even know you bring this past into the present moment. And therefore, it's really important to keep, when you communicate with another about what it is that you need, what your boundaries are, what is it you want, that you keep it with yourself, that you don't make the other responsible for solving it, but you connect with them by explaining what it is that you feel. And that is a whole different dynamic when these things happen. I don't know if you can relate to that. You continue here. Actually, you say, the same time she knew and felt it wasn't something I was doing, it was hard for me to understand. Well, I can really, really appreciate then the talks that you had, that also she realized it was part of her and you felt that you wanted to help her. But yeah, that can be really, really hard sometimes. Okay. Jan says, I also get so frustrated when others do the same thing I do. But now I'm more understanding when others do it. Sorry, I have to wrap my head around. You get frustrated when others do the same thing you do. Okay, but now you understand why others are doing it. Yeah, I'm not completely sure that what you mean, like when you're doing something and they want to do it with you or they copy you. Could you elaborate a little bit on that? Thank you so much. Kenya says, I struggle sometimes with my son who suffers from positional defiant disorder and ADHD, as I can be reactive with his behavior. It's hard to show myself gentleness. Yeah, but that is really hard. That is, you see your kid suffering. You are the safest person that they can, to get into opposition. So it takes a lot of self-gentleness to understand that this is not you, but this is him suffering from whatever is going on with him. That is really hard. And becoming gentle with yourself, understanding that you give yourself what you actually would him to give you. That's a first start. Yeah, but it's a challenge, absolutely. Okay, so there's so many topics I realize when we're speaking about this, right?